So next up, we'll take a look at how to start making the displacement on the eyeball. But before we do that, I think I will rename this to be my main ramp and copy this name. I just usually call these nodes UV. Let's see, and I don't need this one, so I'm just gonna hide it. And let's see here, I think I'll just desaturate this one a bit for now. Let's keep the IPR going. See camera. Okay. We can also use the perspective view to look to see how it slides. I think we can turn up the intensity a bit. Maybe 200. Yeah, it's a bit clearer now, but we can tweak this a lot later. Okay, so I'm going to stop the IPR, and now I will add a displacement map, and that map is going to be another ramp. So to add a displacement, you can use the displacement shader slot here, and into that I'll create a redshift displacement shader. So I'm just hitting tab and then start writing displacement, and then second on the list is the one I'm going to use. If you're using Arnold, you can use the top one. So I'm just going to connect it out to the displacement shader, and I'm not going to do much here. And I'm going to create a new ramp texture, and I'm going to call this eyeball disp ramp. I'm going to copy this and paste it to here. I'm going to call it UV, and I don't need this one, so I'm going to hide it. And I'm going to middle mouse button drag it up to the texture map slot. And so you see here, this range is going from 0 to 1. So black is 0 and 1 is white. So it's gonna displace the mesh along the normal of the geometry. And this is like a multiplier here. So I know this is gonna be too big, so I'm gonna put it down to 0.2 for example. And before we start, I need to add the redshift tessellation and enable displacement. I'm going to enable auto bump mapping, and I think the maximum subdivisions is fine if it's at 4. I don't think I need more. Okay, so maximize this window again. Let's see what's happening. Not too much. Okay, so something is happening. Okay, so let's set for now the interpolation to none. And now you can see here that we have some displacement going. And to get it to displace inwards, it's really simple. You can just set the strength to negative. All right. So usually when you make an eye, you kind of make the curvature of the iris and the pupil in the geometry. But to keep this procedural, I wanted to see if we could do it just with a ramp and displacement map. So I found a way to cheat it, but it's not perfect and you don't have 100% control, but I think we're getting pretty close and it's a lot of fun to play with. Alternatively, you could model the indent here and then use a blend shape to tweak the size, but it's quite hard to keep the eye completely round when you're doing that. So we need to experiment a little bit here, but I think we can find some values that make this transition nice and natural. You see, we have a little bit of a challenge here, because when the displacement goes back to be a flat value here, it will follow the curvature of the sphere. It will not be completely flat. So we kind of need to counter that. So I'm going to set this interpolation to smooth, and I'm going to drag this up. We're just going to rough in the position for now. So now we kind of have this indent here. We just need to have the pupil to go inwards as well. If I delete the color here, you can see it'll look better. Oh yeah, you see this little bump here? That's simply because of the UV map. I don't know why. By default, it seems like it's exceeding the tile a little bit, so I'm just going to scale it down in Y slightly, as little as possible. And let's hit IPR. Okay. Let's go to the camera. Let's see. Just gonna save this image for reference. Okay. So we need to make a hole in the middle for where the pupil is. So to do that, I will make another point, and instead of value 1, I'll try something higher. So if we get more displacement, let's try 3, just clicking on the keyboard, because the slider goes up to 1, but you can actually add higher values here. So yeah, that's not too bad. It's a bit of a bump that I don't want to have. Let's see. You can also click on the arrow there to open a bigger version of the ramp. Just going to see if it helps moving it towards each other. We can also try to play with the interpolation type. That removed the bump, but it's not really what I want. Let's set it to bump. That's maybe a little bit better. I think I'll keep it to smooth, and I can hide this later or tweak it later. I think it's fine. All right. Now we have the main displacement going. Next up, I will show how to connect the controller to the displacement.